If you go to gracecurleyshow.com, you can check out the latest column by Dave Seminara. It is titled, I No Longer Hate Tom Brady. It's hard for me to even say it because I don't even understand how someone could hate Tom Brady, but that's why we're bringing Dave on here. So Dave, first of all, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Grace. You don't understand how someone could hate Tom Brady. Have you ever been to Buffalo, Grace?
I have not. And if you keep up that attitude, I will never go to Buffalo.
You got to come.
No, so break it down, Dave.
A lot of Buffalo haters, like a million of them or so.
Break down. You've been a Bills fan for more than 40 years. And break down the amount of times and what you watched Tom Brady do to your team.
Do I have to? Okay. He beat us 32 times, Grace, over a period of 19 years. So you could imagine, and we beat him 3 times. So I'm not a math major, but that's a pretty lopsided ratio there. And, you beat the team 32 times, and many of those 32 losses were blowouts. And he also insulted us once, too.
Tell people about that.
Talking about his father. Well, this was years ago, but of course, we're in Buffalo. We sort of have an inferiority complex. I don't live there anymore, but my family is all still there. And, we have a bit of a chip on our shoulder because people are always taking cheap shots at us. And Brady was trying to say, basically, how loyal a fan his dad was. And his illustration, his example of this was, my dad even goes to the games in Buffalo. And he said, I don't know if you guys have ever been to Buffalo before, but the hotels there are really bad, or something on those lines. Like, he insulted our hotels, which you're like, oh, man, low blow.
I don't know if you guys have ever been to the hotels in Buffalo. They're not the nicest places in the world, but he would still travel to those games. I could kind of see how that might rub you the wrong way.
Ouch. It wouldn't if he was talking about some city that was already very self-confident, maybe not. But we're a little edgy in Buffalo, I got to admit, because we've been ragged on for so long, We're
right.
sensitive.
And so we're really
snowflakes, I guess.
You really detested Tom Brady for years and years and years. And then something happened very recently. Explain to people why you had this change of heart.
Yes, I did have what is that Saul on the road to? I'm going to get this wrong, but I did have some sort of a conversion. And if it was Saul on the road to Damascus, is that the parable from the Bible? I don't know, but I did also teach my 2 children to hate Tom Brady too. So I also indoctrinated them into the Bills' hatred, even though they've never lived in Buffalo. But I started to change my mind, and it first started when Brady spurned the Patriots, and he signed with Tampa. Because I lived down in St. Pete, of course, and him leaving the AFC East and leaving the Patriots. To me, that was a wonderful thing for him to do. I was thrilled. Immediately, I thought, okay, we might actually win the division with him gone, and sure enough, we did.
So you were happy as a matter of convenience, like he's out of your way now. You guys have a shot. That's why you at first were.
Yeah, and I thought, thank you. And it wasn't just me. I mean, even the mayor of Buffalo held a press conference, and it was right at the start of coronavirus when this happened, and he urged Buffalonians to celebrate at home. He's one of those mayors that Howie would hate, who's constantly hectoring people, and he was worried that Buffalonians were literally going to be partying in the streets when Brady left our division.
Wow. This runs deep. And then you also talk a little bit about the age factor. And because Dave, you have books out. You're very into sports, specifically tennis. Tell people first of all the names of your books so they can find them. But what else did Tom Brady's age show you?
Okay, well, first of all, you go to my website, which is daveseminara.com, where I talk about a couple of the new books that I have coming out. But one of them is about traveling in the footsteps of Roger Federer in Switzerland. And Roger is my all-time favorite athlete. Love Roger, and he's turning 40 this year. So, and he and Brady are friends, too. Like, after the Patriots won last night. Ooh, that was a low blow. Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
after
we're still
the Bucs
hurting.
won last night, Federer tweeted out a picture of him and Brady together, which said, age is just a number. So I love that. The fact that he can still win at 43 bodes well for Roger. And I got to admit, too, I'm a Generation X guy. I know you're a millennial, so, I'm 48. So I just love seeing someone who's in our, sort of forgotten generation succeed, because I know you millennials, Grace, you guys are taking over the world, and especially the world of sports. So I love a 43-year-old guy succeeding. I mean, even if he is Tom Brady. And he did it against the Chiefs, who just, decimated our hopes of getting to the Super Bowl. And they were very cocky, and they did a lot of trash talking and stuff like that when the Chiefs beat us. So there was just no way I was rooting for the Chiefs. No.
I'm going to read a little bit from your piece here. If people want to check it out, it's gracecurleyshow.com. But this was my favorite part. You said, I now find myself seeing Brady in a new light. I'm grateful that he spurred Bill Belichick and the Patriots. You go on to talk a little bit about the division. And he is 43, 5 years younger than me, and says he could play beyond 45 when his current contract expires. If he can do that, perhaps my all-time favorite athlete, Roger Federer, can do the same. Hell, perhaps I can, I don't know, walk briskly around the block after dinner for decades to come. High hopes there, Dave.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get carried away. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm so inspired by Brady that I'm going to go out there and run a marathon or something like that. But I do think you just have to be impressed by the guy. I mean, how does he keep doing this? No one in the world thought that he was going to win again when he signed with Tampa. I mean, people were kind of laughing about it, weren't they?
Yeah, no, they were.
All people saying in New England.
I specifically remember the day he announced it. And first, I was totally in denial. I did not think, there's 5 stages of grief. And I thought, no, there's just no way. And then I was like, Tampa, why? And nothing against Tampa. I was just in a moment. And then I remember calling people and they were like, yeah, don't worry too much about it. I mean, he's so old at this point and, with COVID and everything else, who knows when he's actually going to play or if he'll get very far. And I have to say, last night watching it, I was like, this is so cool because it feels like a million years ago he actually left the Patriots. But I think it was such a gutsy move. I was one of the people who said, why wouldn't you just end it with the Patriots? Like, why wouldn't you just end it on a high note? But I do think it's cool that he was like, no, I'm going to try something else. And, age is just a number. So I totally agree with you on that. I do have to ask you, though, a little bit, because I know you write politically sometimes. What do you think about the wokeness of the Super Bowl last night? Were you impressed by the commercials or the halftime show or Bruce Springsteen or any of that or the mask wearing? What are your thoughts on that, Dave?
Oh, well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Grace, because I heard you guys, first of all, just to say, I heard you and Howie last week talking about Nancy Armour's column attacking Tom Brady's white privilege in the USA Today last week.
Yes.
Oh, can I just say, too, that was just another reason to root for Tom Brady. And I can't even believe I'm saying those words. A year or two ago, if you told me that I'd be rooting for Tom Brady, I would have laughed in your face. But, Nancy Armour's talking about Tom Brady's white privilege. And if you haven't looked up her horrible column, don't give USA Today the click. Just find it elsewhere, like Fox News has covered it or whatever. But, I mean, all of these woke reporters, they hate him. They can't let that MAGA hat in the locker room go, even though it was 6 years ago. Regarding the wokeness of the actual game last night, answer to your question, I have to be honest that I did not notice any of that because I only just watched the football, and for a lot of the commercial, I either muted them or took the opportunity to go get a snack or whatever. So I really only watched the football. So you'll have to fill me in on that.
Well, I do have to tell you that I saw one tweet, and I think it was an article from the Washington Post, and of course I can't find it right now, but it was wondering if we have to reconsider the name of the Buccaneers. Because I wasn't sure if talking about pirates is appropriate anymore.
Oh, God. Well, I did hear that there were a bus full of Native Americans who were protesting when the Chiefs arrived outside of their bus. And that really gets to me, too, because you don't name a sports team after something that you think is bad or weak or whatever. You're naming a sports team after a group or because it's something positive, right? I mean, who would name their sports team something negative? I think Chiefs is I think it's a positive thing because you name a sports team after someone who's brave or successful or whatever, right?
Right. And I think they've actually done polling amongst Native Americans, and they the greater majority of them think it's an honor or think it's cool that that there are names like that. But it's easier for the Karens to make their white guilt go away if they say, oh no, we have to rename them, the football team or whatever they're going to rename them. I did want to play you a little bit because I feel bad for you, Dave. You missed all this wokeness, and I just cannot let that stand. So I would like to play for you a little bit of Bruce Springsteen in his first ever commercial that was for Jeep. This is cut 12.
It's no secret. The middle has been a hard place to get to lately. Between red and blue, between servant and citizen, between our freedom and our fear.
And
oh, God.
You know what, Dave? We're going to play the second half just for you. This is cut 13.
We can make it to the mountaintop, through the desert, and we will cross this divide. Our light has always found its way through the darkness. And there's hope on the road up ahead.
It's so self-indulgent. It's like painful.
Oh, God. Did you do that to me just because the Bills beat the Patriots twice this year?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I had to punish you somehow. This is the best way I could come up with it. But I have to say, you just said that you never thought you'd be rooting for Tom Brady, right? And I was talking about this earlier in the show. I said, the left has a way of going so extreme and being so obnoxious about everything they stand for that it can turn you into fans of things that you were never a fan of. And like an example, I never cared about the name Buccaneers. I never was a huge Pirates fan. I didn't watch Pirates of the Caribbean. But now that they're trying to cancel Pirates, guess what? I'm rooting for the Pirates.
Hey, guess what? I know probably a lot of your listeners aren't tennis fans or Roger Federer fans, but, Roger got attacked by Greta last year on Twitter. I don't know if you ever heard about that, but Greta Thunberg. And by the way, I love it when you guys do her How Dare You, when you throw that into your show.
How dare you?
Greta, thank you. Greta was harassing Roger on Twitter last year because he's endorsed by Credit Suisse. And, of course, she thinks that Credit Suisse is destroying the rainforest somewhere, I think, or something on those lines. And thankfully, Roger didn't buckle. He did not distance himself from Credit Suisse as they were demanding that he do. But, yeah.
And that makes people bigger fans of I can't tell you the amount of celebrities who it's not like they've come out and support Trump, but just certain things they've done. I've said, you know what? You seem like a normal person, and now I like you, even though before I wasn't the biggest fan. Guys, I'm talking to Dave Seminara. Dave, tell everyone your website one more time.
It's just my name, DaveSeminara.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Dave has a lot of good pieces, talks a lot about cancel culture, a lot about sports. Very fun to read. He's a funny guy, so make sure you check that out. We'll be back on the other side with another funny guy, Howard Lawrence Carr. Don't go anywhere. This is The Grace Curley Show.
The Grace Curley Show will be right back.